We're talking through the clear cooperation policy and also coming soons, which have obviously been a very hot button issue, topic, and conversation as they've come out through NAR. And I think everyone's still getting used to this idea as well. So Rachel Foster has graciously accepted our invitation to discuss this. She's obviously working at a high level on this in a car. And so I'll let her tell you a little bit more about that. We are recording this, so if you miss something or you feel like there's some good resources as we get through this, we can share this out. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. Heather Clark and I will be kind of monitoring that and make sure that we're not inundating Rachel too much here with questions. So without further ado, Rachel Foster, if you want to go ahead and take it over, that'd be great.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you. If you didn't see in the chat, I responded to Teely saying how much she's missing all of your faces. I just really would love to see each of you in person and meet some of you. So anyway, it's just great to see you after this year that we've had. I was the chair of the MLS group in 2020, and that's when the rule came down from NAR, this clear cooperation rule, and the MLS group worked together to try to figure out how we could implement it in a way that was going to be most helpful for realtors and for our clients. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through a PowerPoint together. Like Josh said, this is being recorded. You'll also get a copy of the PowerPoint. So if you want to share it with your colleagues, if there's anything in it that you have questions about, please don't hesitate to ask. My email address will be on the very last slide. So if you have specific questions that we don't get to, feel free to reach out to me. So we are going to be talking about clear cooperation and the coming soon policy, which is how CAR addressed NAR's clear cooperation policy. So why was I asked to do this? Like I said, I was the 2020 MLS chair, and then now in 2021, I'm on the board of directors and I'm also the MLS liaison. So I'm still involved in these conversations, and that's why I was invited. The first thing that you're going to get in this PowerPoint is this link to CAR's Clear Cooperation page. On this page, and it is an invaluable tool, you will see best practices, you will see field rules for the MLS, and you'll also see frequently asked questions. From there, I just want to give you a little bit of a disclaimer. When we were working through this in 2020, one of the things that we recognized was that there were going to be a lot of questions. There were going to be loopholes that came up that we needed to address. And the people who are on this call who are in the MLS group can attest to the fact that even now we spend time, we get emails and we discuss it with one another and we try to figure out the best way to do this. And sometimes I think one of the things that we're recognizing is that not what we have done necessarily, but that this rule may have created more issues than NAR had hoped to fix by creating the clear cooperation policy. So please know we don't have all the answers. We are working through them with you. We are trying to make this as helpful for you and again, as your clients as possible. All right, so let's work through clear cooperation. This is the rule that NAR voted on in the fall of 2019. And clear cooperation says that a property must be entered into the MLS in an active status, and both active and coming soon are considered active statuses within 1 business day of any advertising or marketing. Some examples of that, but it's certainly not an exhaustive list. Yard sign, phone calls, flyers, an email, a post on social media, that sort of thing, that all counts as advertising or marketing a property. So once you have done that, you have 1 business day to put it in the MLS. Again, it's coming soon or active. There's an important phrase on here that I want to point out. It's the very last phrase. It says, marketing of a property outside of your brokerage. And that's something that we're going to get to as we work through this. You can market a property to agents within your brokerage before it goes into coming soon status, before it goes into active status. You can email every agent in your brokerage and let them know about it. You cannot do that outside of your brokerage in advance of, or more than 1 business day in advance of putting it in the MLS. Off-market properties. So a property that's not in the MLS can be shown to agents in your brokerage. Sight unseen offers can be made on properties without penalty. That's something that I don't know about other people on the call today, but I know just in the last week in my offices, I've seen 3 of these where the friends of the seller see the property because the seller invites them in, and they end up calling their agent and wanting to write on that property, which isn't strictly sight unseen, but it's also not with any licensees involved and anybody showing that property to those folks. So just keep in mind that sight unseen offers can be made on properties under this rule. So when we started working on this, one of the things that we recognized was that we could do what the Greater Augusta Association of Realtors did, which is simply create a rule that says, or follow NAR's rule that says, if you market or advertise at all, you've got 1 business day to get that property in the MLS. They did not create a coming soon status. But one of the things that we recognized was that agents in our marketplace were using coming soon as a way to increase interest in the property and also give their sellers time to prep their homes for market. And what we wanted you all to be able to do was to be able to let people know while the property was in the MLS as coming soon, that it would be coming on the market so that you could increase that interest. That would also allow you to put the yard sign up, to get it on social media, to send out emails to all agents as long as it was in the MLS as coming soon. The coming soon status is available for residential land and multi-class listings. Days on market do not accumulate when the property is in the coming soon status. And then these are important points and also sticking points as we have worked through this. When you put a property in the coming soon status, it cannot be shown to anyone, including agents in your own brokerage. Properties incoming soon can be incoming soon for up to 14 days. The MLS will automatically change that listing to active on day 15. If you put it in as coming soon and your clients and you are ready on day 7, you can immediately change that to active and go ahead and put that property on the market as fully active. But if you just put it in and leave it alone, 14 days, on the 15th day, it will become active. And then properties in the coming soon status can't be withdrawn and then put back on the market as coming soon, or moved to active and then moved back to coming soon. So once they've been in coming soon and they have gone out of that for whatever reason, they cannot go back into coming soon. So what do you do if somebody wants to see a property that's in coming soon status? Because every single one of us, I'm sure, has had this situation. So Rachel, my clients are only in town today. Please just get me in this market. We're desperate. They need to be able to get into this house, and it's in coming soon status. The only way that you can show it to them is if you change it to active in the MLS first, so that it is open and available to everybody in our marketplace. This is one of the reasons why you can't shift it to active and then shift it back to coming soon, because we foresaw the fact that some people may move it into active just for my clients, and then move it right back into coming soon. And what we want to make sure that we have is a fair and level playing field. So what can I tell people if they ask about the property? And this is something that we've had come up a number of times. We've gotten questions submitted from Facebook posts and emails, and questions about whether or not you can have a verbal conversation as long as it's not in writing. There are all kinds of ways that we've seen people try to massage this to make it work for them. What you can do if somebody says, hey, do you have a property coming on the market in Old Trail? Because I have people who desperately want to live in the townhouses in Old Trail. You can give them general information about the numbers of beds, baths, the town, and the neighborhood. But what you can't do is give them the property address or information that would lead them to the property address. So I can say, yes, I have a 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath townhouse coming on in Crozet, and it'll be on the market in April. This is true no matter how you communicate the information. So just hitting that home again, no matter what, you can't give them specific information about that property. This is pre-coming soon, just so I'm clear. Once it's coming soon, clearly the information is on the MLS, and so you can communicate it in whatever way you would like. But pre-coming soon, you can't do that except to agents in your own brokerage. All right, so active properties. And this is another one that we've seen some issues come up on. Once you have moved a property into the active status, it must be available to be shown. You can't move it to, so let's say you put it in coming soon, 14 days has finished, and on day 15 it moves to active, and you go in and put in agent remarks, property cannot be shown for 7 more days. That's not an option here. So what we're saying is once it's active, it must be available to be shown. And then additionally, contracts must be accepted for review on properties in active status. So if a property is active and buyers submit an offer, of course, it has to be shared with your sellers. Let me be clear about this. If you put the property on as active on a Friday and you say to all of the buyers, we will be reviewing contracts on Monday at 5, that's perfectly fine. You can accept those offers over that course of time and make your decision with your seller on Monday. But must be available to be shown, and you must be accepting offers on those properties at that time. All right. So what if my seller wants me to tell only certain people about the property? You can do that as long as it's within your brokerage. And again, this is pre-coming soon, but you cannot market or advertise outside of your brokerage. And then once it's in coming soon, it is fully available for you to share. What if I get an email asking me if I have a house coming up? And we just went over this. You can reply and let the agent know about general things about the property. For instance, I put Glenmore in here. You could say, I've got one of the cottages coming on. It's 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, whatever, but you cannot say it's on this street at this address. And then what if my seller tells people on their own? And I know that I am repeating myself here, but it's good to hear again. Your seller's not a licensee. So your seller can tell their friends. Your seller can post things on Facebook. As licensees, we cannot. And again, we've seen some of that recently where, sellers are just chatting with their friends, telling them that they're moving, and someone knows of someone who might want to buy that house, and that's perfectly fine. One other question that I've been asked in the last week or so that is not on this slide is, can I, as the agent, get in to see it without sellers? Because I'm not technically showing it. And the answer is no. Again, unless you're in my brokerage, I can't get in by myself to see it either, until it is fully active. All right. So these are the resources. And again, you'll get this PowerPoint along with the recording of this. And it will be made available to you at www.car.com/clear-cooperation. If you have questions, contact your broker. You could also contact CAR, or you can reach out to me. And I am happy to answer your questions, or to reach out to people to help me answer your questions. So before we wrap this up, I want to share one last thing with you, because we have a document that is available on car.com/clear-cooperation that you can get your clients to sign, that says that they understand what they're agreeing to if their property is being put in the coming soon status. This first page explains, and I don't want to make anybody ill, so I apologize. This first page explains the things that we just went through on this PowerPoint. The second page is the addendum that your clients can sign that says that they understand what it is that they're agreeing to. So I want you to make sure that you know that that document is available to you when you're listing something in the coming soon status. All right, so we're going to open up the floor for questions. And I saw Pat Whittam and Sasha Tripp jump on, so I may ask them for help should I not be able to answer your question, because they were part of the team that worked through this together. So ask me whatever you have. I just saw a question in the chat that says, where do you find the coming soon document? Again, the one that sellers sign. So all of this is at www.car.com/clear-cooperation. So that's where you'll be able to find, thank you, Abby. Abby just put it in the chat for anybody who wants that. I'm gonna scroll back up and see what questions we have here. Let's see. We hear about properties being shown pre-market in other firms all the time. We tell our clients that they know it's being shown, but they can't see it. The only way our client can see the house is to call the listing agent or another agent in their firm, or directly contact the seller. What is the solution to this issue? I'll tell you that is one that we have really struggled with. Like I said, you can show it to agents in your brokerage. One of the things that you said was that they can call the listing agent or another agent in their firm. I quite frankly, and if anybody else on the team wants to jump in and say something here, I'll just tell you what my heart says and what my gut says. I was raised to be all about fair play, and this is a hard one for me. I don't like the idea that that loophole exists, but we're following the letter of the law, and we tried to be really careful about that when we were responding to what NAR had required us to do when we incorporated this this particular rule. So. And if I don't fully answer your question, I'm trying to monitor the chat and do this. So if I don't fully answer your question, please feel free to unmute yourself and clarify for me. So it's next question. Is it possible to get HomeSnap app to also show coming soon? There are several platforms that don't show coming soon. I'm not going to be able to name them all, but I know HomeSnap, Zillow, I think, doesn't show coming soon. There are a bunch of them. And the answer is not right now, because it's not commonly used across the board, but it certainly would be great if we could. All right. If your brokerage is aware of a coming soon property before coming soon, can it be shown? Yes. So before coming soon, it can be marketed and shown to people within your own brokerage. Once it's incoming soon, it cannot be shown. Let's see. Certain firms will continue to sell and show their own firms, but not the public. Is there anything we can do about it? We have struggled with that. It is, it's a tough one because honestly, I think that's why clear cooperation was written. I think that's why NAR did this, was to make sure that as much as possible, properties were being put out for the whole market to be able to see. And one of the things that we're realizing is that this has driven some of that deeper, has made the problem bigger. So right now, no, there's not a fine system in place for that because it's not against the rules. All right. What happens when you write a contract with a home sale contingency and the listing agent of the property the client is trying to purchase then knows the property address? And I may ask anybody from my team to jump on if they want to on this one. I don't know that there's anything you can do about that. You're not marketing the property. You're just writing a contract. So you're not going out and publicly try, or even just one-on-one with the agent trying to, wink, wink. Here's this property I have. It's just part of the contract. So I don't think there's a way around that. I've had clients tell me that they went with another agent because that agent can get it sold through their sources without going on the market. Also, I've had buyers that know a property is able to be purchased and the agent will not allow me to show. So I will encourage you, if you run into situations like that, please reach out and let CAR know. Like I said, there are, I would say, at least one night a week. Abby and Sasha and Jordan and I are emailing one another about, hey, we've got this new situation, and how do you think it compares with the rules? How can we handle this? And I, again, my gut tells me I don't like hey, I can get it sold through my sources, and having another agent lose out on a property because of that. But it's still within the rules that NAR set for us. All right. I'm not clear if you can activate a listing with remarks stating a specific date showings will be, activate on Friday and start showings, and stating showings will begin Saturday. So technically, if you put it on Friday, then showing should begin on Friday. That's the way our rules have been written. So if you put it on Friday at 8 p.m., clearly it's, you're not going to have showings in this market you might, but you're not going to have markets you're not going to have showings that late necessarily. But yes, if you put it on the market as active, it is available to show. So if you're not showing it till Saturday, then I would say activate it Saturday morning. Are there any questions that I missed? Donna, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, so you want to address what happens when people, hang on for a second. Sorry, I have people in the room with me. So when you see a property, it comes on and immediately, like within 4 minutes, it goes under contract. It was coming soon. As soon as it gets activated, it goes under contract. And I know people go, how did that happen? So anybody, and I kind of know because I've done this, but you want to address that?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. That's not a hard one at all, Donna. Thanks.
Easy one.
It's a great way to start a Friday. I need more coffee. So again, from experience of my agents, there have been properties that people have written on sight unseen. And so that is a time where it's in as coming soon and it goes immediately into pending because somebody has written and the sellers have accepted it sight unseen. There are plenty of sellers out there that I actually happen to be one of them that dread the idea of having their property on the market because everything has to be just so for, and again, in this market, it could be like 2 hours that your property has to be just so, but sometimes it's, a week or two, and so a lot of times sellers will just say, look, if you can get me an offer and sight unseen is fine, then do that. And so that is a way that can happen.
Rachel, I also see Tom Rainey's hand up.
I think he asked in the chat. Tom, do you still have a question?
Nope.
Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else have a question? Well, let me then just say this. First of all, I'm grateful to have been able to be here today. And we do have some questions. So I'm going to stop telling you how grateful I am to be here today. And I'm going to start with you, Candace, and then we'll go to you, Bevan.
I actually forgot my question as soon as I raised my hand because I'm driving at the moment. But if I remember exactly what I was going to say, I will raise again.
Awesome. We'll come back to you. What about you, Bevan?
Here I am. Thank you. I have a listing in Western Ridge that just came live last night and I'm doing the whole weekend exactly like you explained. So I'm glad I am doing it correctly. Back to Donna's question. Is it, if it's coming soon and it goes on the market for 2 hours and then, so it's coming soon, then it goes on the market for 2 hours and then under contract, would that be the listing agent's real estate company that sold the house?
No. And again, I'm going to use my personal experience. One of my agents came to me, let's say a week ago, I think, and she said, my clients saw a listing, saw that their friends were going to be moving and they know the house and it was going to be some other brokerage's listing. And she said, my clients want me to write on it, but it's incoming soon and we can't see it. And I said, you can write on it sight unseen. So it doesn't have to be, for sight unseen offers, it doesn't have to be people within your own brokerage.
It doesn't have to be active.
Doesn't have to be active.
Okay, sight unseen doesn't have to be active. Wow. Or it would be in your office. So if Donna, going back to her question, that's the only two ways that it probably sold in 2 hours.
Right.
Okay. Wow,
Or,
sight unseen. Okay. That's
or
good.
went to pending immediately, like, in a minute and then got shifted to pending.
Yeah, well, like new construction, they'll sell the house and sometimes build the multiple listing and then make it sold. But that's new construction. Doesn't show. Okay. Okay, that's sight unseen. That's interesting. Okay, thank you. I'm going to go drive to my Western Ridge listing and continue listening.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Bevan, just to you, something that you asked brought up something for me. The rule is 1 business day. So if you put a listing on, if you start marketing a listing today, it doesn't have to be in the MLS until Monday.
Whoa.
That's one
Little
of the
gem.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting pieces about this. It's 1 business day. And Pat and Sasha and a couple of other people on who sat through this with me know that I kept saying 24 hours. And they're like, it's not 24 hours. It's 1 business day. So Friday
Monday
to Monday.
through Friday. Well,
Yep.
to us, a business day is 7 days a week, but so it's Monday through Friday.
Especially right now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sunday is definitely a business day for us, but not for the rest of the world.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Candace, your
Thank
hand's
you.
back up.
Yeah, sorry about that. So an interesting situation, property that is going to be in printed marketing, like Real Estate Weekly or Find Properties or what have you, when they say, okay, it's not going to be printed until 3 weeks from now. And there's a coming soon property, but it's past that 14-day time frame, but it's not going to be printed and out there until 3 weeks from now. So for example, I've got a property that's going to be coming soon in like a week and a half, and the printing will be out at that time. So it will be coming soon, but it's not yet, obviously. Is there anything, I'm assuming since it's not publicly marketed, it's not printed yet, none of that is happening, that is still fine, like to let publications know about properties that will be coming soon once they're being printed?
Correct. That is perfectly fine. If you were to put something in a publication like that and then it comes out before you're ready, that's when I think we get into a more difficult area. But if it's coming out when it doesn't matter that the publication knows about it ahead of time because you're not publicly marketing it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Elizabeth. Oh, unmute yourself.
Hi,
Hi.
thanks. I have a question related to Donna's comment or question. So let's go to the scenario where you're marketing in-house. Someone is then ready to go active. So your firm's seen it. Someone in your firm could write an offer. You can go active. Other people can see it, and it can go under contract that same day. It can go under contract before you go active because your firm has seen it.
Right.
So I think that gets to the crux of what feels unfair about this whole issue. I'm just wondering, is the board doing anything? I realize it's a national issue. Is there any dissatisfaction on the board's part about this, how it's being implemented, how we can keep it fair for everybody? Our buyers are cut out of listings for other firms simply because we're not in the same firm. Sorry, that's a lot to hit you with, but these are my frustrations.
I completely understand. And yes, the MLS group is constantly working on how we can make this better. We are aware of the problems that have arisen. And like I said at the very beginning of my presentation, we knew that there were going to be questions that came up that we didn't have answers for, or circumstances that we weren't exactly prepared for. So we know that we have to continue to work on this. And yes, if you'll continue to just let us know as things either feel unfair or aren't working the way you think they should be, we will continue to work on this. We have to stay within the letter of the law as written by NAR, but we also want to make sure that all of you that we represent, understand and, and feel good about how we're implementing this.
What can we do most immediately to resolve the issue that, for example, currently I have several buyers waiting to see a house that's being marketed in-house by another firm, totally legit, but I'm stuck. I can't help them until it goes active. What do I do, practically speaking? I don't want to lose my buyers. We've been working together for 3 years. This house is perfect for them. They know that we don't have the first shot, and we're just going to sit here and wait for it to go pending. What can we do?
You may or may not like my answer, because the thing that comes to mind, and the rest of you who worked with me, please feel free to step in if you've got a better answer. The thing that comes to mind for me is you write a sight unseen offer, but what that means is they have to pay for a home inspection so that they, they're able to see it and have their out. But you would write a sight unseen offer. If you firmly believe that house is exactly what they've been looking for, that's what I would do.
Well, I mean, it seems like it, but I haven't seen it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I respect that there's not a solution for that right now.
Please,
other
I'm
than that.
telling you though, please understand that the lines of communication are fully open. And we want to keep hearing from you all because we want to make sure that we're doing the best that we possibly can.
Yeah, and I'll
Thanks.
chime in on that, Rachel. This is Sasha. I know that like all across the nation, people are complaining about this, that it's just made pocket listings like even easier to market. And is that really what's best for the consumer? I would venture to say probably not. But I think what happened is that this all rolled out like right with COVID, and it's like NAR focus went somewhere totally different. And we all thought like, oh, we'd roll this out and then we would get guidance from NAR and we would fix and tweak things. And then like, really, we never heard anything again. It's like this rolled out and a lot of people complained about it. And it just seems to kind of be sitting where it is without a lot of updates and without a lot of addressing these loopholes. So yeah, I will say in other markets, I am hearing that people are writing sight unseen a lot more often than I'm seeing here. I certainly am not comfortable with it as buyer or seller, but I guess that's how other people have figured out how to get it done. But yeah, we have your same concern because we're a small firm as well. So I totally get it.
Absolutely. So there's a question in the chat. Can you make that offer contingent upon the buyer seeing it within 24 hours of going active? Yes, you can do that. The question is, what competitive offers are also being written, and will the seller accept that contingency or not? So just something to keep in mind. Candace.
Hey, thanks again. So what, I think that everybody on this Latte and Learn today is appropriate and respectful. So it kind of goes to the agents or the listing agents that are not respectful of brokerage and representation, which again are not the people here. But I've had in 2 different situations now where a client of mine, longtime client, they let me know after the fact that, there was an agent that was getting ready to list a home of a friend, and I knew about it. And the agent, and I told the agent, yes, Candace is my realtor. And the agent specifically said, oh, I know Candace, she's great, but if you don't write an offer with me right now, then you're not going to get this home. And they end up getting like bullied into it. Anytime I have obviously I don't do that. I fully respect agents and their clients, but it just kind of stays kind of like what Elizabeth was saying too. Like, how can we protect our clients and ourselves? And like I told my client, I was like, you have no representation really in that. You're being bullied just to even get an offer in. So how can, again, like if and I think too, like possibly with a coming soon property or a listing agent or a firm that's larger, and I have a client that wants to see it, but we can't because I'm not in the same firm. I would probably reach out to the listing agent and be like, hey, can you show my client, like for me? And I would certainly do that for somebody, but I don't know too if that's appropriate. So kind of a rounded question on how to keep agents represented.
So Candace, if it's in coming soon, the listing agent can't show it any more than you can show it. I think I'm going to have to defer to CAR staff about how you handle the question that you brought up about the listing agent bullying your client into writing an offer with them. What's the best way to go about addressing that, Abby?
I would suggest calling the office and asking to talk to myself or Tiffany Van as Director of Compliance for us to understand the issue at hand and allow us the opportunity to look further into it.
I'm always welcome to take a narrative of the complaint and whoever that may be, The complainant is welcome to send me an email with a narrative of what's going on so that I can research it to give you the best answer.
Great. Thank you both. Elizabeth, you have your
Thank
hand
you.
raised.
Yes, thank you. Last one from me. Regarding what Candace was saying, if a listing agent, if you go to the listing agent, you trust the listing agent, you hear they're showing a property, and you send your buyer to that person, what prevents that person from enacting the procuring cause, whatever you call that statute? I don't know what it is. How could we have another agent show our client their property without running into a procuring cause issue?
That's an easy question to answer, Elizabeth. I may have to ask Pat to unmute and talk to us about that. My understanding with procuring cause is that it has to be an unbroken chain of events that leads to the consummation of a contract. But I think there are so many issues around procuring cause that this can get a little sticky. So Pat Whittam, do you want to speak to this at all and unmute yourself?
There I go. Okay, first of all, be careful on any assertion of procuring cause, because that won't be decided until a panel hears the whole set of circumstances. The difficulty I have with referring my client, just use for me an example. If I refer my client to Sasha, I better have some agreement both with the client and with Sasha as to the extent of representation, because Sasha cannot represent my client if I have a buyer-broker agreement. If I don't have a buyer-broker agreement, I shouldn't even be talking to Sasha because it's not my client. Now, can we have an oral agreement to have a client? Yes, if the client adheres to the oral agreement, right? But it's I think not good. I'm hazarding a guess because this is just a session we're having. I think it's not good faith on the part of Sasha if then she attempts to intrude herself into a procuring cause circumstance if she's agreed to show my client. What I don't care for about the showing is that Sasha is then the one who helps my client perceive the property. I'm not there to advise the client. She's doing that. So Sasha's taking on responsibility and the good faith position that she will not intrude herself into the selling side of the brokerage. On the other hand, could I have an agreement with Sasha that I would take a reduced commission if she had to do X, Y, Z? Yes, you could. But that would all have to be done prior to ratification of any offer. I find that that strategy of having my client contact the other side very risky. I would prefer my client to say to me, can I have permission to contact, can I have permission from you to contact the other side? And now we're getting into what Rachel said. If that's the case, if I'm making the contact with Sasha, is it now outside the brokerage? So it's really a sticky situation. But in any event, I think it was Elizabeth. I don't think it could go to a procuring cause case very easily if there's good faith on the part of the party to whom you've made that request.
Thanks, Pat. So for example, let's keep Sasha in it. Sasha's the listing agent. She's got an in-house listing. I call Sasha. She's my buddy. I trust her. Sasha, will you show my client your house that's coming soon? I mean, that's in-house, no MLS status. Is that legit?
Well, it's certainly legit on the part of the seller, and it's legit on the part of Sasha. I think it's really marginal regarding clear cooperation. But let's remember, and I think Rachel said this in the beginning, there is no rule to govern the seller's behavior apart from general law, contract law. They have nothing to do with the code or MLS practices. Sasha does. Now, could Sasha live without telling her seller that somebody else's client has contacted her to show the property? No, she cannot. She's got to say to the client, I got a request to show Mary Lou Smith, if there's any Mary Lou Smith, forgive me, a property, but she belongs she's in a brokerage relationship with somebody else. That seller's going to say, well, I would very much like her to see that property. So what are you going to do? I mean, it really complicates the situation to do that. But let's say your buyer is smart enough to say, is there a possibility that I can get in touch with the other side? If you say no, and the buyer says, I'm going to, then the complication is between the buyer broker and the buyer on the integrity of the buyer broker agreement. So it's not a strategy that is very clear. Don't be surprised if it happens. I'm not sure how, I'm personally not sure how we should deal with the intrusion into clear cooperation in that scenario. Anybody else have a comment?
No, but this will probably be something that we discuss at the next MLS meeting.
No, I think I agree. I think it's a problem. And what I'm seeing is, yeah, just like buyers trying to figure out who the sellers are and trying to like go to them directly, which again is the exact opposite of what I assume NAR was trying to have happen here. But yeah, I've told people before, you know, they've called me and they've said, hey, my buyer knows your seller. They work together. They know the house is for sale. Can we set up a showing? And I've said, I can't set it up. You know, we're not active yet. We're not showing anybody right now. So I can't set it up for you. You know, but if they know each other and they go to a house party, like I can't stop that, you know, like, so it's really the opposite, I think, of what the policy was supposed to produce, but that's kind of where it is, unfortunately. And I would have concerns about, I would probably set like a referral agreement up or something just to protect yourself, to show, I mean, because otherwise I don't really know how you argue that that's an in-house, I don't know, like if I'm showing some other company's buyer, but it's still some other company's buyer, it's almost like I've got to represent that buyer in some way, or I think it is kind of, I don't know. I think it's a great loophole to try for now until we're told not to, but I don't know that it actually holds up, unfortunately.
Obviously, though, Sasha, you're really not in a position to represent that other buyer if that buyer's in a representation agreement.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, I mean,
you would have to do you in fact would have to ascertain that that person is in a representation agreement, because by code you've got an obligation to do that.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know how it works.
I'm going to throw out a kind of a hypothetical. If that issue were to come before a hearing panel, let's leave grievance out of it, but if that issue were to come before a hearing panel, one of the things the panel would want to know is the extent to which the buyer broker induced that situation, to the extent to which the buyer broker was the one who said, here's the strategy you can use, because we cannot refuse a buyer from the opportunity to present an offer. They might be in violation of the buyer broker agreement, meaning not in violation of it. That's not a good word. The buyer broker might be entitled to a commission from the buyer because of it. The buyer might have to get the commission from the other side by contract. So part of the integrity is the behavior of the buyer relative to the buyer broker agreement. The other part is, and going back to Elizabeth, the other part is the good faith behaviors and the cooperative brokerage behaviors on the part of a listing agent who would take the risk of showing somebody else's client that listing, which is an in-house listing.
Hopefully for all of the participants on this call, you're starting to see exactly how complicated this has been and how difficult it is to untangle. We again, I just want to make sure that you understand we are doing our very best to make sure that this works well for our clients and for you. But it's going to take a while, I think, and some interactions with NAR. And I think it's particularly interesting, or I should just say difficult, that this is happening during this particular market, because I think it highlights these problems in a way that we wouldn't have seen if we were in a more balanced market right now. All right, any other questions, or did I miss anything that came through in the chat? Well, I appreciate you guys all jumping on for this call this morning. I hope that you learned something that was valuable to you. I am grateful to have been asked by the professional development group. So Josh, thank you so much. And before I drop off or this ends, I just want to put in a plug. The Blue Ridge Food Bank is trying to get $5,000 by the end of March, and it will be matched. And so if you can even give $5, in fact, if there's a CAR staff member who can drop that link into the chat, possibly, they are trying to raise that money. And last I knew, we were only at about $2,000. So if you can donate anything at all, I'm just putting in a quick plug. And Josh, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you guys. Great questions. This is a great kind of kickoff, I think, to these Latte and Learns. And if you have any topics that you're specifically thinking about, I mean, I think with the gearing of this was towards topics that we as an association are having questions about, that we're running into on a daily basis. And obviously we're all doing a lot of business right now and scurrying around. And so there are these ethics questions and these questions that are hard to kind of chew on when you're running around. So please email either Heather or I or Aaron Howe. We're all part of the professional development group, and we would love to get those in front of the group and see what topics are out. Again, thank you, Rachel. Thank you guys for the questions, and I hope everyone has a good weekend. And like Bevan says, these are business days, right, that we're working. So enjoy your weekend. Good luck to you. Have a great morning.